Hi, my name is Talia. Welcome to Talia Nerds Out. I got tagged, I want to say it was a couple weeks ago, well, maybe not that long. I got tagged a little while back for the Bring Browsing Back book tag. I was tagged by Genre Books. I don't quite remember who originated the tag or if he was the originator. I will put that information. Actually, no, I don't remember. I'll put the originator of the tag in the description if he is not, in fact, the originator. He has a really fun channel. He does a lot of book tags. I look forward to when he does his Tuesday book tags. And he reads a variety of different books, westerns, sci-fi, I believe, nonfiction. And like I said, he does a lot of book tags. Anyway, jumping into the tag. This one was one for me that I had to think about a bit more because it has been a while since I've gone out to either a bookstore or a library. So this, like I said, was a little harder for me to come up with answers. The first prompt for this tag is Magic of Discovery. Share a book you found while browsing that you may not have discovered otherwise. So once again, this one was a bit of a challenge for me simply because I actually don't necessarily have a lot of the books anymore that I found by browsing, or if I have them, I can't remember if I found them by browsing or if I got them online. So just because it's been so long. But I am certain that I got these two books by browsing. So the first one is not really a reading book. This is the Checkerbead Checklist, Agatha Christie Reader's Checklist and Reference Guide. They don't actually make these anymore as far as I'm aware. I picked up one of these for a friend who was starting to get into Agatha Christie, and I had to find a used copy for her. Thankfully, it was in very good shape, so she was able to enjoy it. But I got this back when it was still in stores. I got this either at Borders or probably Borders. Copyright 1999, which that's about right. This was smack dab in the middle of when I was really starting to read a lot of Agatha Christie's books for the first time. I started reading Agatha Christie for the first time about 1997-ish. But this is really awesome. I know I've shown this on other videos before. It has within it the title of the book, when it was written, who the original publisher was, how many pages the book is, gives you the setting of the book, for example, for the moving finger, Little Furs, Limstock, England, and it's set in the 1940s. So you have sometimes the publication date and the setting date is not the same. So for example, let's see if I have one that's not the same. Oh, the one set in ancient Egypt. Death Comes as the End, so you'll see it was published in 1944, but its setting is Egypt, 2000 BC. But after it gives you the setting, it gives you a brief description of the book, generally just a little picture. I'm not sure if this was a part of a cover or whatever. Then it'll have sometimes a little fun fact, like this is a quote about it. Sometimes they will talk about other titles of the book, like for The Mirror Cracked, it has a Checkerbead note that says his title is also known as The Mirror Cracked from Side to Side. And then they'll have, if there's a movie version of it, they'll say what year the movie was and who were the main actors within it. And this is before Kindles were a thing, so they'll have hardcover paperback, large print, audio, and video. Yeah, back with video when those were the options. I'm sure that they actually mean like movie or whatever. No, I mean maybe. So that's kind of cool. This, like I said, was published in 1999, and I love this. I always reference this primarily for alternate titles or for setting, sometimes for number of pages in the book. But yeah, there's a lot of fondness for this book. Besides its usefulness, there's a lot of nostalgia attached to this book for me because it's been with me for most of my journey in reading Agatha Christie. The other book that's an actual reading book, and I know this is another book I've brought up several times, which is Timothy Zahn's Angel Mass. I got this at a used bookstore, I'm almost 100% sure, and I picked it up because I recognized the author's name from him being one of my favorite, being my favorite Star Wars author. So I picked this up. This was the first of his original works that I read, and it is a bit of a chunker. It's over 500 pages. I have read this multiple times, and it was the beginning of my journey of reading Zahn's original works, and he's still writing. He writes science fiction, kind of science fiction fantasy. So actually this might be interesting. 2 genre books. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to actually write down your name so I can refer to you as something other than your channel name. But every time I mean to, I forget to write it down. Anyway, if you are interested in sci-fi, especially sci-fi that has he's pretty solidly sci-fi. So I recommend his books. He's very good at character development, world building in the science fiction genre. Then I have the next prompt, which is expanding world. Share a book that has made you view things from a different perspective or exposed you to new ideas. So I had a few books again because I couldn't quite make up my mind. The first ones are actually books from my childhood. I don't know where I got them. Well, I'm guessing the first one probably was actually a gift from my parents. This is Joan Wester Anderson's An Angel to Watch Over Me. This was actually aimed at children, and it has just little stories about children running into seemingly unexplainable encounters in their everyday lives when they are in most need, that they came to believe were angelic encounters. The funny thing is, I had almost forgotten that I had actually written to the author as a child, and she wrote back to me, which was really nice of her. I can barely read her chicken scratch, but I was super excited. This was back, oh heavens, I was still living in England at this time, I want to say. So this would have been when I was younger than 10 when I wrote. Actually, I know I was still living in England at this time, so I was younger than 10 when I wrote to the author. But I was super excited when I wrote to her, and she was kind enough to write me back. And I have this really cool postcard because of that. The one that actually stuck with me more, though, was a couple of stories from this one, which was aimed at adults, Where Angels Walk. And it was one of those things that made me, it had at least 1 or 2 stories in here that made me realize that, so it made me think about even more, and made me actually think of some of the reactions of people in the Bible whenever they would see an angel for the first time. They were in their, angelic form versus like when you meet Raphael for the first time, he's just like a traveler. There would be this sense of touching the other world. It would be overwhelming, awful, as in like awe-inspiring, to the point where it's almost the people would think that they were going to die because they were so overwhelmed. But one of the stories in this book made me think strongly later on in life when I experienced something at college that I didn't necessarily want to ever have an experience where I would see something that extremely spiritual, because once you touch, there's both ends of that world. Spiritual world has its good and its bad, and if you're open to or if you're able to see angels, there's also the chance of seeing demons as well, and that was not something that, honestly, it was a very scary idea. And it's like, I'm okay. That's fine. I don't need to touch through that barrier here on Earth. That's okay. And one of the stories in here, it hit me even as a kid, and like I said, later on in life, that between this and just when you read your Bible, it makes it very clear that it's not for the faint of heart to be able to touch through to that spiritual world. Although a lot of people do and state that there can be comfort in touching the spiritual world, but I do think it's very much of a be careful what you wish for kind of thing, because it's not meant for everybody, if that makes sense. The other book that really meant a lot for me as a kid, this ends up being a bit religious heavy, is Mother Mary Frances' book, A Right to Be Mary. This goes through what it is like to live, for this particular nun, what it is like to live as a Poor Clare, which, if you're not aware, that is the order founded by Clare of Assisi, St. Clare of Assisi, and her order was the female order attached to St. Francis of Assisi's Franciscans. So she was a friend of St. Francis, and he found her order with his blessing, or with his assistance. But this was very influential for me. I went through a long period, most of high school, a little bit before that, where I thought that I was going to be a nun. So I actually I thought I was actually, like I said, through most of high school. And because of this book, I ended up seriously thinking about it. I would go on what was called nun runs, where you would go with a bunch of girls and you would visit a bunch of convents. And going to one of those convents is where I started thinking in the back of my head about what some things that this particular order would do. And this order, not necessarily the Poor Clares, but this particular order that we visited would take care of the sick and the elderly. And in the back of my head, I was like, oh, I could do that. And eventually that germinated and led to me pursuing a career in healthcare, and I ended up becoming a nurse. So indirectly, this not only directly influenced me thinking seriously about the life as a potentially becoming a nun, but it indirectly led to me becoming a nurse, and I worked as a nurse for 10 years before I became too disabled to do so. But this is just, even if you are not Catholic, this is not a book that is only it's not a book that could only be enjoyed by Catholics, at least not the way that I remember it. The way that I remember it, it's a story. It's real, but it's this particular nun's experience of the everyday in the convent. So if this seems like something that interests you, that little peephole into that life, especially since these particular nuns, the Poor Clares, they are, trying to remember the word, especially since these particular nuns are cloistered, which means that they stay behind a, they don't go out among the general populace. Their main job, for lack of a better term, is praying, intercession, adoring God. That is literally the focus of their life, of their day. So they are very much detached from the world. So it's a completely different world, and for people who might be interested in what that looks like, this is a very interesting book, or very good book to read. The fourth prompt for this tag is, the third prompt for this tag is open to change. Share a book that has changed who you are as a person or altered your day-to-day habits. Now, A Right to Be Merry honestly could have fallen under this as well, but I ended up going with Trustful Surrender to Divine Providence. When I first read this book, I think it was in high school. I still have highlights in here, and honestly, I might need to get a new copy because I don't know what I was doing when I was reading it, but my highlighting's all over the place, and it's a bit distracting. It's almost like I drew a line through instead of like truly highlighting, so I have hair in my mouth. So this isn't generally a very expensive book, so maybe I'll end up picking up another one, or I'll just highlight over my old one and see if I can still tolerate the way that it's set up. Anyway, this is actually an older book, which I didn't realize until I started to reread it after looking through my bookshelves. But that was my browsing for these past two tags. I was browsing through my bookshelves. When I was looking at the front, it says the following pages were written by a well-known French religious writer of the 17th century, Father Jean-Baptiste Saint-Jour, 1588 to 1657, and are an extract from his great work entitled The Knowledge and Love of Our Lord Jesus Christ, which was the constant companion during the life of the saintly Curé d'Ars. To them have been added a further extract from the writings of Saint Claude de la Colombière, 1641 to 1682. So this is a medieval era book, which, okay, not medieval, that's a little bit later. This is early modern, well, yeah, I would say it's Tudorish era, not medieval. But still, this is quite an old book. Now, this particular copy was copyrighted in the 1980s. But like I said, the work itself is from the 1600s, which is kind of cool. And it talks about conformity to God, God's will in things. Just like the title says, trustful surrender to divine providence, trustful surrender to God. And this was probably the first meditation book that really hit me and started making me think about how to live my life. And like I said, I think I got this, I think my mom gave it to me in high school. I don't know if this was my original copy or if I eventually ended up getting another one. But it is one that I am starting to reread again. Whether or not I end up having to get another copy, because I use quite dark highlighters in this, and I did a terrible job of highlighting. I was all over the place. I'm not sure if what I was doing there. But anyway, yes. It's just a short little book, well worth the read. Now the final tag, or the fourth prompt is browse a bookstore, library, or friend's shelves and talk about a book you found there. I've actually recorded 2 videos on my phone, and I will be adding them to the end of this video. That being said, I will give you a heads up. As it is, I usually record at night because I generally feel best at night between my light sensitivity and overstimulation during the day with other medical issues. And the fact that I've always, ever since I worked as a nurse, I also have been a night owl because I worked night shift for 8 out of the 10 years. It was only the last 2 years that I worked day shift because I changed jobs. But I worked night shift and I just stayed on that schedule. So this is my happy zone, is nighttime. So I'm up when everyone else is asleep. It's currently 1 a.m. It's 1:20. So what that has to do with the videos that I recorded is I'm recording on my phone and it is dark. I did bring a light with me, but I will try to lighten up the video in post-production if it is not light enough. But just a heads up, that's usually why my videos tend to be a bit darker. So I will be inserting those videos because I did them in pieces and parts because I was browsing her shelves. But I'll be inserting them here. Hey guys, so this is the part of the tag where I go through the last prompt, which is to browse either a library, bookstore, or friend's bookshelf and talk about a book that I find there. So I am homebound, pretty much, and I haven't been to a library or a bookstore in, I guess it's been years. So I have a little reading light because it's nighttime here and this room isn't very well lit. This is my mom's bookshelf. I'm actually not quite sure what's in here, so we will see. Alrighty, what have we here? Looks like we have some Terry Brooks. She's actually the one who introduced me to Terry Brooks. We got the Three Musketeers. I do believe that is her English copy versus her French one, because she lived in Belgium when she got her original copy, or got her French copy of the Three Musketeers. I don't know where she keeps that copy. She went to Brussels American High School because Air Force brat. Let's see. Some more fantasy. Some Ellis Peters. She's also the one who introduced me to Brother Cadfael. Let's see, more fantasy. I actually was the one who introduced her to Joust. I can't remember how much I'd recommend the actual book. There's some stuff in there that I probably wouldn't want to read now, but I really enjoyed the short story. Mercedes Lackey actually wrote it first as a short story, and I found out later that she had expanded it into a full-on novel. Now, there are some things in that book that make me feel uncomfortable now, so I wouldn't read the book again now, and I wouldn't finish the series. I don't think I ever actually finished that series because it just wasn't something that I wanted to continue. Let's see. Oh yeah, I got her a couple of Agatha Christie books. Oof, sorry. Let's see. Looks like some more. She's really into Patrick Carr. This is Patrick Carr, right? Oh no, it's someone else. Let's see. Okay, that's a religious book. This must be her religious shelf, or one of her many religious shelves. I think that those are actually school books of ours. Yeah, that's those are school books of my sisters and I. Our Baltimore Catechism, or one of our Baltimore Catechisms. Intro to the Bible. Oh, yeah, I remember those books. I haven't looked at those in ages. Yes, this is one of ours because it has the highlighting in it. I don't know if it's with those squiggly lines. That's probably mine because I probably fell asleep while I was studying. Yeah, that actually kind of looks like my handwriting too. Let's see. That's her grading it. I should check and see whose signature is in front. If it says. It looks like my handwriting because it looks like I couldn't quite figure out how to what word I was working for, principal or yeah, that kind of looks like my handwriting. So I'm pretty sure this was mine. My sister also wouldn't necessarily put I don't think she's ever been as much of a highlighter. Oh, that page is turned over. Well, it's not my book anymore, so I'm going to leave it alone. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's my book. Or was my book at one era. Don't look at anything that she had to correct of mine that I didn't get a good grade on. So that's one of our old Baltimore Catechisms. Obviously, there were several of in that particular collection. One-handing this back in because I can't risk damaging this book, but there we go. What else is here? Get up on the step. More religious books. I think we might be pretty solidly in her religious section. What's up there? Oh, that's mostly her writing books up there. I'm not reaching up there. Let's see. Something about writing plots. You guys are going to be able to see it a lot better than I can in post-production. Maybe I'll be able to see it better. Something about writing fantasy and science fiction, novelist boot camp. She has something about names to help her think of names for characters. She just likes gemstones, which is why she has that book. Actually, I used to have one like this on snakes and one like this on lizards. Maybe it was on reptiles and amphibians. That might have been what it was. We got them in England because I was really into like snakes and, also lizards is sort of a sort of a side thing, but mostly snakes. And I had one like this. And I think it was mostly focused on snakes. It might have had something on reptiles in total. I can't remember. But yeah, oh man, I forgot these. I'm sure my sister had one on dogs and cats because she had far more traditional taste at that time than I did. So here is her other bookshelf. I gave her this dictionary. It was a little bit too big on my desk and I wasn't using it. This one I actually got for her. The synonym finder. I think she already had this. I gave her one on poetry. There's another one of her name books. A descriptionary. Oh, cool. Something on grammar. She also did some editing in her writing groups. Right brain. Kind of like drawing on the right side of the brain. I got her the Oxford Rhymes. Then here, I think this is mostly her Bibles. She has more over there. This is the, I picked up this set when I was still able to work. This is the Navari Bible. It's got like a huge amount of commentary. Let's just grab, ooh, no, I'm not gonna knock that over. Let's see what I can grab without knocking over everything. Not sure if you can tell, but like half the page is commentary. So you've got the top part above the line, which is the actual Bible verse, and then everything else is commentary. And that's the entire, that's how all the pages are. So final commentary. I guess I should grab one to focus on. And the one I'm going to do, let me just adjust this. I think I'm going to focus on, sorry, try and do this without blocking the, there we go. I think, not Eddings, I think I'll do Brooks, and I think it might have been the Scions. Yeah, this is the series, Scions, Elf, Queen, Talisman. I'm not sure if First King is, I think she has this out of order. Because I think Druid goes in here. Yeah, this doesn't go here. Unless she doesn't even have an alphabetical order. Yeah, let's see. I think this one's a single by itself. Because this is a prequel. I didn't care for this one. Alright, so let's put that in proper order. We have the Scions, the Druid, the Elf Queen, and the Talismans. I believe that's the right order. Now, I don't like this series nearly as much as I do the Sword of Shannara series, but this is a series, and I'm going to pull out the first one, which is, I believe it's the Scion. Yep, this is the first book in the Heritage of Shannara. I guess the 4-part series. And this was originally probably the series I liked best until I started rereading them again. This is also the series that when I read it again after getting out of college and, after a few years after getting out of college, I realized I saw the characters from a different lens than I did when I was younger. Like, I realized for the first time that the Dark Uncle's character, Walker Bow, he was not as old of a character as I thought he was when I was younger. But it took growing up a bit myself to register it. Funny enough, my mom came to the same realization at the same time, which kind of confused me because she had started reading as an adult. Her thought process was that she was watching me grow up, so she was seeing me go through the stages, and it made it a little bit more clear, I guess maybe when I was about the age Walker Bow was supposed to be, that, oh yeah, Walker Bow is not actually as old as he seems if you just take the Dark Uncle moniker and just think, oh, okay, so he's older. I mean, he is older than the other characters, but that doesn't make him older. He's still a pretty young character. But yeah, I do recommend this series as well. I did find that characters I didn't like as much the first time around, I liked better the second or third time around. Walker Bow I always liked, but I got more aspects of his character than I did before. Now, the Elf Queen, whereas I didn't care for her or her book the first time around, I liked her a lot better when I read her later. And for this series, I actually didn't care that much for the main two Veilmen. I don't connect to them quite as much. I know that this particular series is my mom's favorite. She prefers Heritage of Shannara to Sword of Shannara. I don't quite agree, even though there are characters that I like in this series. I just don't like these characters as much as I do the ones in Sword of Shannara trilogy, although my favorite books in the Sword of Shannara trilogy are also the last two. I think it's the last two books. Yeah, the last two books. So, those are the books that are that they don't really follow quite in the, like, they aren't like these books where they come directly one after another. They're all kind of going on simultaneously, whereas Sword of Shannara, you have the first book, and then you have a block of time for the second book, and then another block of time before the third book. So this way the Sword of Shannara is set up is very different than the Heritage of Shannara. Now, one thing I do like about Terry Brooks, now I haven't read anywhere near all of his books. He writes a lot. I think he's still actively writing. But I like that his stories that I've read are all interconnected with family. So you see almost like these families can't quite shake free of their familial destiny, almost like like a Star Wars type, this is your destiny kind of thing, where the Skywalker bloodline keeps getting tagged with things. You notice this more in the you notice this particularly in the EU, and or it makes me think of how the hobbits keep getting tagged with things, and you can tell that the Veilmen very much are influenced by the hobbits. Terry Brooks took a lot of influence from Tolkien, like a lot of fantasy writers did. Although by the time he got to Heritage, I don't feel like it was as obvious as it was with the first Sword of Shannara book. At this point, I think he had become a lot more confident as an author, and he had really developed his own world to the point where, yes, there were aspects that were still influenced by Tolkien, but it wasn't nearly as smack you in the face as it was, I believe, in his first book. But yeah, I think that's all I have to say about the books on this shelf. I hope that you enjoyed this little browsing. Hope that you enjoyed that tour of my mom's bookshelves. And the last prompt, sorry, my brain just stopped. The last prompt in this book tag is to tag people. So I will tag people below. And thank you very much for lasting through this video. Hope that you have a wonderful day. And I will see you for the next video. God bless. Bye.